What's up, Sky Squad? It's your boy, DJ Richie Skye, back with our people, Up and Adam. Adam, is it fair to call you our people? Because you run an operation over there. So I feel like it's not just you, it's your entire entity.
Yeah, hey, I like that. I'll keep them. I'll be a part of the people. I like that.
Guys, in the chatterization, y'all know what to do. We like to know where you're watching from because we are just a tad bit nosy. At least I am. With that being said, we've sent out the texting notification to the squad, and now we are ready to dive into the episode. So we're talking Real Housewives of Salt Lake City. This is the finale. I want to go ahead and get into rating the episode. I mean, we're going to talk about the headlines, of course, but I want to know what you guys will rate this episode on a scale of 1 to 10. And Adam, of course, you got to let us know what you are rating this episode here.
I think I'm going to give it an 8.
Oh, an 8, yeah. Which is a stark 2 points down from the 10 that you gave it last week.
Yeah, well, last week I felt a little bit different about it. This week I feel like it deserves an 8.
Tell us why.
So what I liked about this episode was probably Coach Shah and having that resolution. But it left me with so many questions. And I'm happy that we're here today to talk about this because I just kind of left it feeling a little bit unsettled. That's why.
Unsettled?
Yeah, unsettled.
I can't wait to find out why. Guys, in the chat, let me know what you guys are rating this episode as well. I'm going to give it an 8.5.
Okay, it's not far off.
Down 1.5 points from last week. I feel like I'm doing sports commentary right now. But, I felt like it wasn't as boom, boom, pow as last week, right? I felt like last week was a lot of fireworks. I do feel like overall this was a great season. And I do like that it was part 3 of the reunion and we got a major resolution between Jen and Mary. We had the Coach Shah and Robert Sr. moment where they kind of seemed to bond and, there were apologies made. And so I felt good. That left me feeling good, especially because there was some things with Mary from last week that made me feel a little unsettled. But she redeemed herself to me this week a little bit, not all the way, but a little.
I agree with that.
I think she had some very iconic moments, and I feel like her falling asleep was definitely up there with the Ramonas of the world, okay? I often feel like Mary is the type of person that never really realized what she had gotten herself into with filming this show. And she's just kind of caught in one of those, those snow globes. And you shake up the globe and all the snow falls and she's running around in the globe trying to eat the fake snow. That's kind of how I feel about Mary.
What?
So, off the rip, we have two major things going on, and I kind of listed them in the title. We had Mary and her husband. Well, her husband really kind of addressing the granddaddy rumors, and then we also had Jen having somewhat of an emotional breakdown with regards to a conversation around race. And we got to talk about those things. And I know that the race topic is very sensitive and it's a very hot button right now on a couple of different shows. So, Adam, I want to let you lead this discussion today. Where do you want to start off first?
Okay,
what stuck out to you the most in this episode that you just felt riled up about?
So I think that there are a few things that were said that are important to kind of take note on in this episode. And one of those is the fact that when Jen Shah was yelling about how how being called aggressive is kind of dangerous for her, right? Because she says, I'm a woman of color, so being called aggressive is dangerous. And Whitney was trying to talk. She's like, I'm trying to understand. Like, can you help me understand? And to be honest with you, when Heather Gay said, you are being aggressive, you've been aggressive, this is aggressive, kind of like Vegas was aggressive. Jen Shah she got really upset. She got emotional. She had to get up and walk away. But I think what I'm trying to understand too, because again, we can all do better and we can learn and know what certain trigger words are and what to kind of steer clear of. What would you call Jen Shah's behavior? That's where I was left a little unsettled. I'm like, well, then what would you, I know that you don't have to label everything, but if you are throwing glasses and kind of having these moments where you get excited, right? Get passionate. What do you call that?
Adam, I was in the gym thinking about that this morning, to be quite honest with you, because what I happened to, and as I reflected on several moments that I've seen over the these past couple of months, I don't know if you remember this moment in the Potomac reunion where Andy was asking Wendy about, how the ladies, or specifically Ashley, labeled her actions, her response about the baby, not being able to bring her baby, and Ashley labeled it aggressive. Wendy said it was a dog whistle to signal other people to basically call her out as a Black woman being angry and aggressive, right? So we now see an instance where, Jen Shah, who considers herself a woman of color as well, is basically saying to people around her to not call her aggressive because she feels like it plays into a stereotype of her being an angry woman of color, I should say. You can't say angry Black woman because she's not Black, but calling her an angry woman of color or an aggressive woman of color and what that means to her. And so it led me to wonder, what do you label? And it goes back to what you just said. Do we label? But yeah, we in a certain sense, we have to label the behavior because it's very different for most of us. Okay. The way she reacts so strongly to situations, she's having some type of tantrum, okay, at different points throughout the season. And I just sort of feel like we as the audience and also her castmates have to be able to they have to be able to understand, how do I categorize what's happening with her right now?
Exactly. I mean, it's an action.
Yeah, that's exactly. And for me, I too want to be respectful. I want to listen and learn, especially to, the plight of any woman in general. Let me start there, okay? Because that's how my mama raised me. But also, and specifically, any woman of color who may be crying out and saying, hey, this is offensive to me because, right? And so now what do we do differently? How does everyone move differently? And how do they handle her when she has those moments? Because she has been the person who has had those moments.
Right. And then if you don't acknowledge those moments, it's almost like when she was, getting really upset and worked up at the end when she walked off and she was talking to Coach Shah. And she was saying, no, they're trying to talk over me and they're trying to kind of like take that moment away from me where I get to speak out and say how I feel and why I feel this way. Well, now if we pass over these moments and we don't talk about them, then maybe you might interpret that as like they weren't important enough to us, or we're glazing over you because you're a woman of color. Maybe that would have been addressed, but that's where do you find kind of the happy medium where you can have the conversation? Because there's a conversation to be had. You don't just, everyday people don't just lash out at their friends this much, unless there is something that you're dealing with. And I think Mary Cosby said it the most. This is not an everybody else problem. Right now, this is a Jen Shah problem. And that's because she has certain things that she's dealing with deep down, and that's why she acts out the way she does. Honestly, if I learned anything from this episode, it was the fact that Coach Shah is such a great balance for her. And he really, like you said, brings out the best. I think you said that. Pretty sure.
I think I said it 1 week.
Okay, so then we'll go with that.
But you're right. He does bring out, the best in her. And I felt like that's kind of where, and it was an interesting parallel to me, because I felt as though, there was something about Robert Sr. that made Mary more likable. And I don't know if it was just his presence there and her reaction to him, or maybe it was, we could see the way he talked about her and the way he treated her and how he upheld her as his wife and her reaction to that. I can't really call it, but I just felt like it's going to be interesting to see these two women next season and how they relate to each other and how their husbands relate to each other, and if they will be able to continue with this friendship.
I think that
do you think that they will?
Yeah, I think that there will be some sort of alliance here, especially because the husbands have kind of buried that in the sand, whatever that expression is. But what I do want to say here is two things. One, was it out of line what Jen Shah said about, Mary effing her grandpa? Sure, yes, that's out of line, right? But you're also filming a TV show, and or you have to expect that some of these things will come at you. It doesn't make it right, but it's going to happen. But what I want to say is it's an unconventional relationship. That's okay. Just own it. It's not your everyday dynamic that the step grandfather's wife passes away and you're like, you know what? She wanted me to be with one of her kids, so I'm going to pick her grandkid. That's not your everyday situation. So you do have to, again, just like addressing the aggressive comment or addressing anything else that was going on, like Whitney's husband being excommunicated from the church or Meredith having a boyfriend on the side. It's like you have to address these things because this is the highlight of it. This is what everyone's talking about when it comes to your storyline.
Mm-hmm. I want to pause for that for 1 second. Thank you, Michelle Stacks, for the super chat, who says she needs therapy. I'm assuming she's talking about Jen. And then we have Kelly, who says Teresa almost flipped the table, Renna broke a glass and lunged at Kim. But folks, fans didn't say they fear for their lives. You know what's funny? And this is a deeper conversation than probably what we could have right here on this show. But, it's interesting to me that, when these things happen, and just like you said, to me, it was interesting because when that happened with Teresa and when it happened with Lisa Rinna, there was really no backlash about it. The women on the show didn't seem to flinch about it. And so when I looked at what happened in Potomac, it seemed like it was the cast that seemed to make it a really big deal. And then the network seemed to make it a big deal. So that's an interesting dynamic there that I don't really have the answers to as of yet. But, hopefully we'll get that sorted out. And we'll come back to the Jen and Heather conversation about, race and how that plays into things at the end, because that was the final discussion. Right. What did you think about Meredith and Seth and her commentary and her stance with the rest of the ladies?
I thought it was important because she made a statement at the end how she will forgive everybody, but trust is earned and trust needs to be earned, and that's fair. When Andy was asking her about her marriage, she's so standoffish in this reunion. She doesn't want to share anything, but at the end of the day, I think, again, she looks at herself like some other iconic housewives, like LVP, someone who really, like, you have all of these businesses. You're a CEO. I mean, Meredith doesn't have a lot of businesses, but she's still the CEO of her jewelry line. And, I feel like she wants to hold herself up there like there's not a lot of trouble going on behind the scenes. And this cast ruined that for her, especially Jen Shah. She took that away from her and made her kind of a focus and her marriage a focus, when I don't think that was Meredith's plan when she signed up. But again, don't make a plan when you sign up for a reality TV show.
Do you think that what was your thoughts about the way Jen sort of responded to Meredith during their little kind of back and forth? Because Jen seemed over it to me. Like,
yeah, that's what I was gonna say.
It felt like she was like, "Girl, I said I'm sorry. What else?"
Yeah, but I thought what Meredith said was fair. Just to be fair, I did think what she said was fair. Meaning, like, say I did that to you, would you feel like I was being a good and loyal friend? And Jen Shah said, no, I wouldn't. And it just at that, Meredith was like, okay, well, that's my point. But to what Jen said, she's like, okay, well, I said that. I said no. I answered your question. But Jen Shah's like, I've apologized. How many times do I have to keep apologizing? But the thing is, that's kind of a little bit of hypocrisy here, because she's the one who usually apologizes or settles a beef and then is the first one to bring it back up. So it's like, we're kind of going in circles here a little bit.
It was interesting to me that also Seth had not been seeing anyone else during their little hiatuses, and it was indeed just Meredith, it seems, who had the extra little thing going on while she was trying to figure out what was going to happen. And so it kind of goes back to what Jen was saying, that really did happen. I felt like we glazed over that.
Well, I mean, again, though, I think why it was so easy to glaze over was the fact that both Meredith and Seth, they own the fact that they were separated, that they have been separated on and off a few times. Right. They said it on this episode. They said, we have had a very tumultuous marriage. I actually felt bad for Seth, though, watching this episode, because you can tell he really loves Meredith. But again, we don't know what is really happening behind the scenes, because Meredith doesn't really let us in like that. Meredith likes to carry herself, I've said this a few times, very stoic and like regal and a classy businesswoman who really has it all. But behind the scenes, that's obviously not the case.
Yeah, it was interesting. What was your reaction to, briefly want to touch on Whitney and her dad? I know you had talked to her about this a little bit, but, just what were your thoughts about it?
It was sad. That was actually really sad, because she said one thing that resonated with me. And again, I think we talked about this, I guess, and again is my favorite phrase today. But I feel like we already addressed this, which was, she said addiction is a bitch. I don't want to say it on here and get you demonetized, but it's true. And I think all of us can relate to that in some capacity. And it's sad, because she wanted this to be a celebratory thing where she gets to look back on how far he came through his journey and where he is now. And that's not how it played out for her. And the fact that she messages him constantly, it's really sad, because it's almost like they've had a role reversal. Like, she is the mom and he is dead. That shouldn't be the case.
Yeah. Question. Did you have any thoughts about Lisa Barlow in this episode? Because I felt like we kind of took a little bit of a backseat from her. There was the moment with her and Heather. It almost seems like if Lisa Barlow breathed wrong, Heather was like on her a little bit. Like, just from my opinion, although she did make a good point about when they were talking about divorce, it felt to me like Lisa kind of downplayed it until it was about Meredith. And when Heather, I mean, that was a clear thing that actually did happen, but was it big enough for Heather to have such a big reaction to? What were your thoughts?
No, because I think that their friendships are at different levels. Meredith and Lisa obviously have a closer relationship, but not close enough to where Meredith ever shared it with her before she shared it with the rest of the women. She shared this in Vegas. But to Lisa's point, like, Heather, I'm not putting down your divorce or trying to dismiss it or put it off to the side. It's just not a conversation that you and I would talk about, because we're not there. That's not, that's kind of a more intimate conversation when you start talking to somebody about what's going on behind the walls of their home. Most people don't know what's going on behind, closed doors. But for this, I feel like Heather kind of took it to the next level. But Heather's still mad. Heather's mad that Lisa recommended her for the show, but then still pretends like she doesn't know who she is. I think that got under her skin.
Question: after watching the reunion as a whole, did you have any differences of opinion about any of the ladies after watching the reunion versus the show?
I grew to like Mary Cosby more with this last episode. I know. Even though I hate the audio clips that I hear from her, I know. I hate the audio clips. I think some of the things that she says, is ridiculous, but she said it at the end. She addressed it, and I'm willing to. She's not my friend, so I don't have to sit here and forgive her. It's not like It's really not that deep, but I'm going to kind of reconfigure my brain and give her a chance to see, what is she really like when she's not trying to put on a show or say these outlandish things. And she even said at the end, one thing that she wants to fix is she wants to tune in to how she says things in her delivery. And that makes sense. That's a good thing to take note on, because walking into your church and looking at the choir and telling fat boys that fat boys fat, and then like telling them that they're all broken, they need to give more money. Like, those aren't things that make me really want to like you. But this, and acknowledging that, okay, I can watch you on our screens.
Woo!
Yeah.
We did it, guys. We did it, Joe.
We did it. We did it, Joe.
And what about your thoughts about Lisa and Heather after seeing this third part of the reunion? Did you have any change of heart about either one of them as a result of their performance at the reunion?
No, I mean, I think that it was okay that we didn't get too much from Lisa this episode, only because she was like the center of last week's episode. But for Heather, I've liked her since day one. I still like her. I think that she's probably one of the most, realest ones on there. And then I think what I'm most confused about after watching this episode and seeing so much resolve, everybody was resolved across the board except for Meredith, who seemed like she was kind of standoffish. I'm curious where the rifts are going to be and the disconnects for the next season. And I heard, unless this is a rumor, I heard that they already started filming.
Yeah, I heard that they had started filming as well. It's going to be interesting to me because I kind of feel like Meredith, and again, I think I called her or referenced her or likened her to Lisa Vanderpump before.
Yeah.
But I almost feel like it's going to be a very Lisa Vanderpump type situation where if someone does her wrong, it is going to take a very long time for them to get back into Meredith's good graces.
Well, question for you. Who do you know how like every year they try to let you bring on a friend or let somebody kind of introduce a new friend into the girl group, I guess. Who do you think will end up being able to introduce the new friend next season? Will it be Meredith, who's kind of on the outs with everybody right now because she doesn't trust anyone? Will it be Jen Shah because she needs an ally? Mary Cosby's not bringing in anyone because she's just not. She needs to be more relevant on the show because they didn't give her enough time out of her closet. And I don't see Whitney and Heather really being able to bring in somebody. I don't know. What do you think?
I think if anybody, it would be probably someone who's a mutual friend of like Lisa and Meredith, because I feel like there's going to be a little bit of a rift there. I think that it almost felt like, and I could be reading a lot into this, but it almost felt like Heather, like Meredith was leaning more towards the Heather Whitney side of things than she was the Lisa side of things. And I believe that's because she feels like she's hurt, as she did kind of state last night, that Lisa would choose Jen as a friend. You know what I mean?
Knowing she doesn't understand.
Yeah, knowing what Jen does. And Lisa seems very loyal to Jen.
Yeah, which is, again, it's interesting and it's concerning. And when I say it's concerning, I'm talking about the fact that like it kind of blew my mind a little bit when we watched Meredith, like they pointed out, get up from the table in Vegas and walk away because Jen Shah was telling her who to be friends with. And Meredith kind of, again, I love Meredith, but she's indirectly telling Lisa Barlow who she can and can't be friends with by her reaction. Because if she really didn't care, this wouldn't be a thing. And right now you can feel from her, this is a thing.
Lastly, I want to know, did you have any thoughts about the Jen Shah versus Heather dynamic right at the end there?
Again, I think it just goes back to what we were talking about at the beginning. I don't know how that conversation could have went without it going left, only because I don't know how to approach the conversation any way differently than how they approached it. I don't know what to call Jen's behavior. And that was a problem because Jen Shah and Heather, they have a close actual bond. You know, they're actually close. She tries to be close, Jen, with Lisa and Meredith, but she has a real bond with Heather, and so does Coach Shah. So they're kind of like, you know, I'm sure when it hurts a lot harder. But Heather pointed out the fact that her behavior is erratic and sometimes aggressive, and that triggered something in Jen. But what do you say? What else do you call it? Do you get a thesaurus?
I don't know, but what I don't like is, and this has me wondering, what kind of friends are y'all? If Heather is saying that this girl is Jen is calling her a manatee on social media, I don't even know what a manatee looks like. It don't sound cute. So for me, I was thinking to myself, you know, if my friend, let me tell you something. If one of my friends called me a manatee on social media or some other term or some sort of insect-like term, we definitely wouldn't be friends. So it was odd to me. I'm just thinking to myself, are y'all friends or not? I don't understand, because who's saying that about a friend on TV, and then who's acting? I mean, I don't feel like Heather was really acting like the friend on the reunion, but likely because she was mad about the stuff that Jen had been saying on social media, which she did say throughout the reunion. So I don't understand how these two are so close. It didn't make any sense to me. I was left confused about, and especially with the way the conversation ended, I was left like, what? And then when Jen came back from her Coach Shah pep talk, it was like a whole different, it was a whole different Jen. It was like everything that had just happened.
It's Jen.
It was yes. It was like a whole argument about race and aggression and all of that stuff. It was like it never happened. I was like, I was confused. So that's why I was asking, like, I don't understand the two of them.
Yeah, no, I agree with that too. I just want to point out the fact that, like, I think some people, when they start getting this newfound fame and they start getting people who give them a response every time they post something or put something out there for social media or their fans, they get off on that reaction. Lisa Rinna has said that she is that way. She loves a good reaction. She loves doing things that people are going to respond to. And I feel like Jen Shah is that way too, at the detriment of somebody else. And that's what we saw here, was by her retweeting or making these comments. By the way, manatees are adorable, but as a human being, you would not want to look like one. Or Shrek.
I'm going to Google it. Hold on. Keep talking.
I go outside, and I actually got in trouble the other day because I go outside with the hose and they come up to fresh water, and I sometimes will clean off like the dock or whatever, and they come up and drink the water off of the dock, and I'm like, they look like these little cows. It's the coolest thing ever. They're the
my god! Let me show y'all what it looks like. Hold on. I'm gonna share the screen. You cannot call somebody a manatee, y'all. Do y'all see this? This is a manatee. This is what she called Heather.
Yeah, but they're cute. For an animal. You don't think that's cute?
No. Okay. Don't call me that. Don't call me that on social media. Don't call me that in your house. Don't call me that behind my back. Don't call me that at all. I would be mad if I was Heather too. No wonder she was so fired up during this entire reunion.
Yeah, she's like, F you, man.
Shane said it best. That's a major insult. Okay. Not cool. I had to give us a visual because I had to put it in perspective. And honestly, I didn't know. I thought it was an insect, but now that I know,
I thought you said the word insect earlier.
I did. I was like, a manatee. It sounds like a praying mantis.
I thought that I heard that right earlier. I was like, did he just call a manatee an insect? It's like it's an endangered species. It's like this cute little sea cow that just comes up. People back in the day, pirates used to think they were mermaids. I mean, that's a big mermaid, but yeah.
Woo. Anyway, so now that I got that out of my system, Adam, any thoughts about season 2 that you want to share, or any, just anything that you may have heard that you feel like you're excited about in general with this particular franchise? And when do you think it'll be back?
Honestly, I would probably say that it's going to be back. Wouldn't you say like Thanksgiving or Christmas if they're filming now? I would say October, November, December, kind of like how it started. Mm-hmm. But I'm excited about seeing all of the women come back, have a second chance, see what those dynamics look like now that it's not their rookie season, see how they respond to having the cameras around, and now having watched themselves on TV once. I mean, it might change them a little bit. Also, I love seeing how the Housewives evolve after watching themselves on TV. Like Mary kept saying, oh, I had some bad hair this season. And, they step up their game. So each season, it's like we get a more glamorous set of Housewives. And lastly, I'm excited to see who they throw in there, if they throw anyone in there with them. I hope they do, but I'm excited to see who that would be and how they affect the dynamic of the group. Because all it takes is one instigator to be thrown in, like a Lisa Rinna or a Giselle, or somebody to be thrown in who doesn't care. They'll just stir the pot, and you have a killer season.
Yeah, I agree. I think that they could use, a friend who's featured quite a bit, or just an extra cast member, just to kind of shake things up a bit and give us a little bit of a new dynamic, because I feel like what they have already works, but I would still be interested in having just an extra bit of added flavor in there. And I always feel like 7 is the magic number, to be quite honest with you. Guys, thank you so much for taking this ride with us through Salt Lake City. I am personally trying to make my way there to just take a visit and just take in the sights and go to Meredith Mark's shop and all that good stuff like that. Adam, anything that you have today or just that you've done this week that you want to highlight real quick before we go?
Yeah, no, yesterday I saw that you did the tea with Monique, which was a lot of fun. I was honored that I had the opportunity to be a part of that last night. So that was a great time. And then today we're going to be doing Real Housewives of New Jersey recap with Emily D. Baker, because I didn't realize she was a huge Jersey fan. So I'm literally jumping off of here in 10 minutes and jumping on with her, and we're going to talk Jersey. And then, I have interviews coming up from Bling Empire, and it's so frustrating because we keep on trying to schedule with 2 of the castmates, and we keep missing each other by like an hour. And when I say missing each other, I open my time slots for any interview. Like, I don't miss anything. So it's not on me, but I'm excited when that comes.
It will happen. It will happen sooner than you know, I'm sure. Can you tell everybody where they can find you?
Yeah, you guys can find me on my YouTube channel at Up and Adam. I don't know. They say that if you look to the side when you're talking to somebody that you're lying, I think. But I'm not lying. That's actually my YouTube channel's name. And then on Instagram at Up and Adam Live. Thanks to DJ Richie Skye for suggesting that I change my name. I looked at it again. Like, I feel like I'm lying about something. I'm not lying about anything.
Well, Adam, we believe you. It's fine. Guys, thank you so much for watching with us. We'll be back with something else real soon, so don't even worry about that. And you guys look forward to Adam's Bling Empire interviews. They're coming up. We believe in it. It's going to happen next week. We're calling
manifesting.
Manifesting.
Right. We're manifesting.
All right. Have a great recap, Adam, and I will see you guys in the next video.
All right. See you guys later.